Welcome back. You're with the Smart Shopping Special on Money, Money, Money as we kick off our festive series. And this week we have Harshvardhan Roongta with us, and also we have Sanchit Gogia of Greyhound Research to tell us about whether online is really the smarter choice. Sanchit, so that's really the question, right? We have these mega sales which are coming up, and you have these big discounts. Are the discounts for real? That's my first question.
Well, look, if you go back in time 3 years ago, there were lots of issues with how these discountings were actually even being delivered to the customer, right? So a lot of interest was being passed on as part of discount, but still being charged by the banks and the retail companies to the customer. Now, the RBI came in and said, look, you can't really do that. So this is the first time actually in the history of the country where, you know, the true zero discount policy and EMI is going to be real for this time, because the interest rates and all the convenience fees will not be actually charged to the customer, and the retailer and the banks are actually taking up that fees, and they're going to incubate that fees as part of their margins.
So what kind of discounts can we expect, and how have the past trends been? Do you expect it to be pretty much similar this year?
So I think, look, broadly the discounting trends are going to be very aggressive this year as well, but we're going to see very new trends this time around. But you know, even before we talk about purely discounting, I think you know, shopping online is actually no different from shopping offline actually. Even before you think about going online for that big discount, it's important to take a step back and look at what actually you're wanting to buy in the first place, because there's certain goods like white goods which are very heavily dependent on warranty and repairs and maintenance. You know, people still prefer to buy them offline actually, because you can still go on the street and catch the...
Is that a valid concern? Because a lot of people say that I'll get better maintenance if I know my retailer, and therefore I should actually not be lured by the discounts being offered online. Is that a valid argument?
Absolutely it is. If you look at Flipkart, it's launched this entire new campaign on Flipkart Assured. It already used to have something called Flipkart First. Now, why is that there? Because, you know, when they went back to their customers said, look, while service is an issue, quality and assurance that this is a verified product from a verified seller, they really want to know that. Also, lots of these cheap products which, you know, tend to be more expensive offline, like your mobile phone covers, you know, they are not really selling hot so much on the road these days. But whereas in online, if you see, these mobile accessories are very cheap. So they're clearly products which are selling hot online, and we will see them continuing. Also, what we will see this time around is lots of mini discount and big discounts. So like Flipkart and Amazon have these big billion days. You know, last time around, everything was at sale all 5 days. But this time around, what you will see is certain categories going on sale on one specific day, and that sale will be washed out the second day to be introduced, let's say, a new category.
Do you expect servers to crash again? I mean, it's been, one of those forgettable headlines.
I know, but it was still a headline, and Flipkart got its due advantage out of that, right? So, well, look, I think the companies have learned from their past experiences. They're much better at managing technology this time around, and they understand what kind of inflow of customers can they expect this year. In fact, the fact that they're launching multiple discounting levels within a single broad program means that they're going to have different varied of customers at every given day, at any given point in time. So also, if you see, all these online commerce portals are actually doing a fantastic job actually tying up with lots of banks, tying up with lots of app companies to be able to offer better experiences.
So, you know, let me get in Harsh on that note as well. Harsh, I don't know, your thoughts on online buying. I mean, personally, have you dabbled in online shopping or not? What's your sense about the whole thing?
So, well, when I look at buying a particular product, the first, the requirement is that I need a comparison. So while I could do that online at the convenience of my house, and at any point in time, I could be sitting at midnight and just fiddling on my mobile and trying to get a comparison. Well, that helps me.
So gets you the best price.
And the second element would be getting the best price. So convenience is one, the comparison part, and the second is to actually be able to buy it. So in between, we did feel those we had those phases when the companies themselves came out with some advisory saying that Flipkart or Amazon, for that instance, are not authorized sellers. So any product bought from them will not be serviced. So there was some kind of news that was making some headlines in between. So that was a cause of concern. Barring that, I think it's just the convenience and the price comparison.
How do you actually rate the association with the merchant or the vendor? I mean, because Flipkart or Amazon, they're just aggregators, right? They're just platforms. What about the actual association between the buyer and the seller and the after-sales delivery and the service and all of that?
So it's a huge rub-off, honestly, if you ask me. To his point on warranties going void, I'll give you a classic example. If you buy a phone from, let's say, a Flipkart or anyone else, all they can do is to verify the seller, but they actually can't tell if that phone has been imported from, let's say, Thailand and doesn't have a local warranty. So there have been cases, and there continue to be cases where, let's say, PC sellers and mobile sellers continue to be concerned about great things coming into the country and being sold on, let's say, a Flipkart or, let's say, an Amazon. Having said that, what we must realize is that both Flipkart and Amazon are taking necessary steps to verify both the seller and the product. That's why we have something called, let's say, the Flipkart Verify today, right? So while there's a level of branding that, of course, goes with the primary brand, let's say Adidas or Nike, or let's say a Dell or for that matter from a PC perspective, but there's also branding of a Flipkart or, let's say, an Amazon, which would actually go out and actually personally verify the fact that this seller is a good seller, is a verified seller in this product. So it's a rub-off actually both ways.
Look for those Flipkart verified or Amazon verified.
It's very, very important to look out for that.
Finally, which categories do you think will be the hottest? You mentioned some of them, and you mentioned mobile phones or mobile phone covers for that matter. But what do you think will really sell like hotcakes this year?
This year is going to be fashion. All of a sudden, we see the focus on fashion has gone so high, and there's been so much investment and talk about fashion. So for me, this time around, it's going to be fashion. It'll be wishful thinking if I say something else, but this time, mobile phones has been done and dusted, books have been done and dusted. Fashion really hasn't been done and dusted in specialized fashion. For example, Amazon launched its own specialized apparel brand as well very recently, right? So clearly that goes to show that all these commerce players are hugely focused on fashion, because that is a very high margin category for them.
So between brick and mortar pricing and online pricing, what's a typical variation that we can expect?
It's a very difficult question. It depends on what you're buying, right?
A guesstimate, a rough guesstimate.
Anywhere between 25 to 50% bare minimum, right? Let's say on a brand that is known on the street and both also online, you can see a 25 to 50%. Also what we see is, when you go and buy the latest in fashion, the variance is less, the delta is less, but when you buy, let's say, one stock old, which is higher in inventory, you always get even sometimes 75% discounting. So that's actually the advice we give to our consumers, that, it's always not important to buy the latest in town. In fact, go online to look at the -1 release of what your best thing was. Let's say a kurta you wanted to buy. Why buy the latest? Probably one which is still in fashion and still holds good and 75% cheaper. So
that is definitely a smart shopping tip. We're going to take a break. The conversation continues on the other side.